So if you blow into a penny whistle like this, you get a note, obviously. And what's happening is your breath is going into this little hole here, and then it's going across a sharp blade. There is here a little plastic sharp blade here, and the breath goes one side of it and the other side of it. So it makes a sort of fluttering thing, like a flag in a breeze. And that sets up pressure ripples down the tube, which bounce up and down, and the further they have to bounce, the slower they do it, because it's further to travel. So a low note comes from a long tube. Just flapping them down like that. And if I make it a shorter tube by taking my fingers off these holes, the air can escape here. It doesn't need to go all the way down there for this bouncing thing. So you end up with a bouncing effect which is just going between these two, like this. And obviously an even longer tube will give you an even lower note. Get my fingers organised on this. Okay, so basically once again we have a little sharp blade here, and it's dividing my breath, going up and down, and setting up pressure ripples which bounce up and down to give you the note. And the same is true of beer bottles. The sharp edge doesn't need to be that sharp, and I'm blowing now across the far edge of the bottle edge, like this. And as I empty the beer bottle, which is always a good thing to do, you get a lower note. You also get froth on your chin. Anyway, what's happening is that the bouncing of the waves is happening now further because the beer's gone down a bit, so it's a longer bottle now, so we get a lot lower note. If I empty it even more, we'll get an even lower note. Hurrah! So, longer tubes make lower notes, but flutes like this, with this rippling thing, you can't play them that loudly, because if you blow too loud you get different notes, which you don't want. So there are other instruments like clarinets and oboes, and they have reeds inside them, and the reed flaps against a hole when you're blowing into it. You get the same resonance effect off this bouncing pressure wave thing, so a longer tube still gives you a lower note, but you've got this flapping happening, and that opens the flow of air and suddenly closes it, and opens it and closes it, and that's a much more abrupt way of making the pressure waves travel up and down the tube, and that is a lot louder because of that reason. Which brings us to the magnificent drinking straw oboe. Now to make one of these, get a drinking straw, squash the end flat. These plastic ones don't work very well compared to paper ones. Get some scissors and cut about 45 degrees there and there. Okay, fine tuning here. Okay, now once you've made one, you can just leave it round your flat, because musical instruments are always very impressive around your flat, look. There you go. Or you can choose to play it, and hopefully this will work. Okay, marvellous. Now, difficult to get a tune out of them. You can actually cut little holes in them and play them like a recorder. But you can do this instead. Take a pair of scissors, and as you blow into it, making that quacking noise, you can make a one-off tune by shortening this as you go. That's enough for now.